Hello lovelies, in this video the brilliant Dr. Travis I'm going to be taking you through the immune system, all the different parts and how they work together for your GCSE biology. Now there are lots of names in this of bits. It is really important in the exam that your handwriting is clear enough that the examiner can tell the difference between when you're writing antibody or when you're writing antigen.
The immune system. The human body has some physical defences to stop pathogens from entering. These are part of what we call the non-specific response to pathogens. We have the skin, which provides a protective physical barrier which prevents pathogens from entering. It also secretes antimicrobial chemicals to stop anything from growing on your skin as well. Obviously, if you get a cut or your skin is damaged, then that is a chance for pathogens to enter the skin. Your nose contains tiny hairs and also mucus. So the mucus and the hairs work together to trap any pathogens that you might inhale or breathe in. Your trachea and your bronchi, so your windpipe and the tubes that connect to your lungs, these contain what we call ciliated epithelium or ciliated cells. These are cells which have tiny hairs called cilia. These waft or move mucus that will have trapped any pathogens that you've breathed in that have gone down towards the lungs, and it wafts or moves this mucus back up the throat, back to the mouth and nose, so that you can sneeze that mucus out or cough it up or swallow it in order to get rid of and kill those pathogens. There's the ciliated cells, an example, and you can see the tiny hairs on the top of the cell membrane there. Your stomach contains hydrochloric acid, so that's going to destroy any pathogens that you swallow. So it could be in contaminated food or water, or if you've trapped a load of pathogens in mucus around your nose or in your airways, and you cough it up and then you swallow that, then it will also kill those as well. So these are some of the kind of physical barriers and physical things that your body has to try and prevent pathogens from actually entering the body. Your immune system then takes over if anything does manage to get past these defences. So if a pathogen does enter the body, then your immune system starts to trigger what we call an immune response. There are three ways in which the white blood cells, which make up the majority of your immune system, will actually act in order to try and destroy or remove these pathogens. They can engulf and destroy pathogens through a process called phagocytosis. And there's another type of white blood cell that can produce antibodies or antitoxins. Antigens are proteins on the surface of all cells that help to identify them. So your immune system relies on these proteins, these antigens on the outside of cells, to recognise which cells it needs to get rid of in your body that shouldn't be there. So your immune system can recognise the following types of cells due to their different antigens. So our definition of a pathogen is that it's a microorganism that causes disease, but also the toxins that they release. So bacteria release toxins, and these can also cause an immune response as well. Antigens on the cells from other organisms, these can even be from the same species. So if you get a transplanted organ from another human, so like a kidney or a liver part, for example, they will have antigens on from that person. So your body will see them as non-self, and so those cells could be attacked by the immune system and induce an immune response. And that's why when you have a transplant, you have to take immunosuppressant drugs, which stops your immune system from recognizing these antigens and tries to prevent the immune response because it's going to be an attack and destroying those cells. It obviously can also react to cells from other species, such as pollen or species of like skin cells from animals, for example, which is normally how we get allergies. Body cells that are abnormal for various reasons. These could be cells that have become cancerous or cells that have been infected with a virus, which would obviously be inside the cells. These cells change their antigens. So antigens on a cancer cell or antigens on an infected cell can be different from your normal self antigens, so then your body will recognize these as non-self and the immune system will attack these cells as well. Phagocytes. So phagocytes is the name for one of the types of white blood cell in your immune system. So they're found traveling around in the bloodstream, so in the blood plasma, and also in the tissue fluid. As the name suggests, they carry out phagocytosis. They engulf and destroy pathogens. They're part of the non-specific immune response, so they do not really care about what the cell is when they come across it. They will recognize that it is foreign or non-self because of the antigens, and they will engulf it and destroy it as part of their job. The non-specific immune response, obviously, that the phagocytes carry out is once the pathogen has got inside your body. So once they've got past all the external non-specific defenses, such as your nose hairs, your mucous membranes with your cilia, your skin as a barrier, if they get past that and into the body, then your phagocytes act as that non-specific immune response going around and trying to destroy them. So they're the first cells to actually respond to an invading pathogen or to an organism that's got into your body. Okay, so let's actually look at the process of phagocytosis. Phagocytosis, if you break the word down, literally means eating of the cell, because it comes from the Greek word phago. So in the first stage, our phagocyte just detects that there is a pathogen by recognizing that its antigens are there and that they are obviously foreign, they're not normal inside the body, so it knows it's got to do something. Then it's going to have receptors on its cell membrane, which will allow it to bind to the antigens on the pathogen. And then the phagocyte engulfs the pathogen, so it literally stretches all the way around it, and then its cell membrane kind of joins back up behind the pathogen, so it means it takes it inside of the cell. And then there are enzymes inside the phagocyte which will digest and break down the pathogen. The phagocyte will then carry on going and roam around in the blood and keep doing this if it comes across any other pathogens until it's done it so many times that the white blood cell will actually die. Okay, so let's look at producing antibodies. This is now part of a very specific immune response, which is carried out by white blood cells called lymphocytes. These can also detect the antigens on a pathogen surface, and what they're going to do is make antibodies that match that antigen. So once they are activated, they start to divide rapidly, and they produce cells that produce antibodies. These are known as plasma cells. The antibodies match that specific antigen on that specific pathogen that they recognized. The antibodies are released into the blood, and then they will go and bind to the antigens on the pathogen, making them easier to be destroyed. So here are my antibodies, and they will have a specific shape that will only be able to bind to the specific shape of the antigen on the surface of the pathogen. When the lymphocytes start to divide, some of them don't become plasma cells, some of them become memory cells. And these can produce these specific antibodies again in the future. So if you are infected by the same pathogen with the same antigens in the future, these memory B cells will be activated and can start rapidly producing the matching antibodies to stop you from getting ill again. Finally, let's look at producing antitoxins. So there are other lymphocytes which produce antitoxins instead of antibodies. So on my right here, I have my lymphocyte and it's producing these antitoxins. The reason it produces this is because when bacteria enter the body, they make us ill by releasing toxins. These can damage cells, which is partly what makes you sick. The antitoxins released by the lymphocytes will bind to these toxins and neutralize them, which means it stops them from doing any damage and it stops us from making us sick. This is also very similar to how something like anti-venom works. So if you were bitten by a snake and the venom was in your body and in order to help you at the hospital, they might give you an antivenom. This would bind to the venom in your bloodstream and stop it from being able to have any effect.
Ouch! This is why in some videos I explain scratches.